Boomveni.
Bienvenidos.
Dobre požalovat.
Let's talk languages.
Welcome back, guys, to another episode. Today we have a really special guest. We have Alex with us.
What's up, Alex?
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
He's a really good friend of ours, and we know that he has a lot to say and is like really, really good things to say. So that's why we wanted to have him today.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me. It's an honor. I
Yeah.
don't think I'll make it, but here we are.
You're here. You made it.
And if you go to the Follower by Design shop, the followers that looks like a blueprint, I helped contribute to that design. Just
FYI.
That's probably why
FYI.
it's one of the best.
Exactly. And they're saying I get a commission if people buy it. So maybe you should go buy it. All right. But anyway, we're not clickbaiting. Let's talk languages.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's
Before
do
we
it.
get started, I do want to copy something from Best episode. If you haven't seen it, go check it
Oh,
out.
no, we got another quiz.
Oh.
It's a pop quiz.
Ugh.
Guys, I'm gonna start you off easy.
All
I
right.
am going to repeat a question that Beth asked.
3.
So she asked, how many languages was the Bible originally written in? And what were those languages?
3 is Greek, Hebrew, and was it?
Some things don't change.
Nope.
Daniel.
Ancient Greek, ancient Hebrew.
But we said there wasn't
Eh.
like a difference.
Well,
No,
let's
there
get
is.
more specific. Koine Greek, ancient Hebrew,
Yeah.
and Michael, I'll let you do the honors.
Arabic.
Aramaic.
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 All right.
Sorry, Beth. I let you down.
Oh, we
Sorry.
both did.
Okay. Question
Fine,
2.
okay.
When? All right.
All
When
right.
was the when was the first Bible translation effort? And this is a multiple choice. The rest are multiple choice. I just wanted
Oh,
to free
thank you.
response because
Some teachers
guys,
are nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when was the first Bible translation effort? And I have 4 options for you.
Okay.
One is 300 BC.
Mhm.
One is 0 AD. One is 300 AD. The last one is 1611 AD.
1611 AD.
So one of them is before Christ,
So yeah.
and
so
the rest are after.
there's one before Christ, 300 years before Christ, the year of our Lord, Anno Domini, 0 AD, 300 years after the birth of our Lord and Savior, or 1611 AD, also known as BCE. How's that? Or no, CE in like they changed the dates thing, but
What do you mean by translation? Like just straight up
so
someone
so
writing
someone
it?
took what was previously the Bible in the Hebrew text and attempted to turn it into, and actually successfully turned it into another language, translated it into another language.
Mm.
You got 4 options and about 5 seconds left.
What was C again?
300 AD.
I'm gonna go with that one.
All right. You're both incorrect. It was 300 years before the birth of Christ.
Oh.
Dang.
We'll get to that later. All right. Last question. Not last question. Second to last. How long does it take, do you think, on average, to translate the New Testament into a new language? We've got 2 years, 5 years, 7 years, or 16 years.
Am I translating it or someone who knows both languages?
A organized effort to translate the Bible.
Okay.
By Wycliffe, by any kind of
Trained
professional-
professionals.
Yeah, by trained professionals. This is not Michael sitting down with a pen and paper.
I bet.
Is it?
So we have 2, 5, 7, and 16.
I'm locking in 5
16 years.
right now.
I want to say 7.
Final
Seven-
answer?
7
5,
is a
7?
good number. 7 is a good number.
So it is 7 years.
Oh!
And finally, how many different types of Bible translations are there?
What do you mean types?
So there's different categories of biblical translation.
Like direct
So-
and message?
So there's several different types. The
Mhm.
question is how many? We have 1, 2, 3, or 5.
5.
I can't choose 5, so I'll go 3.
All right. So now we have a switcheroo, and Michael is correct.
Let's go!
Oh.
So we'll get to that later as well. These are just kind of overview of what we'll talk about. The 3, I guess, points that I have.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And fun fact, all the answers were C, the third answer that I gave. So
I've been lied to.
Yeah.
C for Christ always wins.
Oh, we should have known. We should have known.
Yep.
All right. So the first thing I want to talk about, guys, I think that, and this is my personal opinion, we can talk it out. I think that everybody who proclaims to be a Christian needs to read the Bible in its original language, is those 3 languages that we talked about. I think everybody needs to read the Bible in the original language.
You mean like direct,
I'm talking
like word for word
sitting
translation?
down with a Hebrew Bible and reading with the original ancient Hebrew Bible, with a Koine Greek New Testament, and reading it. I think that is super beneficial for our faith as believers.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm not just gonna make that claim and not back it up with any evidence or any kind of plan of action.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just want to see your guys take on that. I think that we all need to read the Bible in its original language.
So I do see your appeal when it comes to reading in original language. Although, like, that's a hard thing to do, especially for some people that are not like really good at like learning languages. That's a hard thing to do. But I do see where you're coming from on that side.
So let me clarify. Do you mean learning ancient Hebrew, or do you mean like getting one of those word for word translations, like a direct translation?
It's a great question. I'm glad you asked that.
Me too.
I don't mean learning an entire language system, grammar, vocabulary, syntax, but I think something that's called an interlinear Bible is something beneficial for every Christian to have. I actually brought one today for you guys to see. You will not believe the magnitude of this thing. All right.
All right.
I'm gonna move this.
All right, go ahead. Oh, this is crazy.
For you guys audio listeners, you are missing out.
You're missing out.
Go check it out on YouTube. This is, I mean, I brought props, guys.
Oh. For you listeners, he has a giant pink Hello Kitty bag. And it sparkles.
Oh, that is.
So this is the interlinear Bible, Hebrew, Greek, and English. And I'm gonna show this to the camera a little bit. This is what it looks like on the inside. This is Hebrew. So every single Hebrew word is separated, and it has a translation. They're word for word, or in some cases, one word it conveys what we in English would use a couple words to say. So it'll have that. And then in the margins, there's an actual translation in English, like a full translation. So you can read the text right there, and then you can see what people have rendered the translation to be.
So you've got word for word, and then you've got a full...
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So this is the entire Old Testament and New Testament. And so...
Is Daniel in there?
He is.
Wait.
He's actually right here.
But it didn't have Aramaic in there. In the
No,
front.
I think it's just Hebrew from probably the Dead Sea Scrolls
Oh,
or one
okay.
of the earlier manuscripts, and not actually Aramaic. It's just a Hebrew translation of that.
Okay.
But I would also, so this is where the New Testament is, and this is Greek. Not very much more space, but I would like to make a point. If you never have considered it, this is the Old Testament. This is the New Testament. It's a lot more in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a lot more. New Testament, it's not that long. Jesus died. You're good. So I'll let you guys look at this real quick if you want. But so that's
actually insane.
It's
This is
a
heavy.
hefty piece of literary machinery.
And wisdom.
Can I read an excerpt, please?
Of course.
Oh, my word.
And he's gonna read it. Remember, it's right to left. Hebrew is right to left. Fun fact: Hebrew is written, and every ancient language is written. The ones that are written right to left, and you can tell why, like kind of what time period it was. Hebrew and other ancient languages are written right to left because when they were scribed into, at the time it was stone, they were chiseled from right to left because as you chisel, and most people are right-handed, you can actually see what you're working on and you don't run the risk of messing up what you've already scribed. So when we discovered papyrus, and that became a more popular way to scribe things and keep them preserved over time, people started writing left to right. Because as you write, you're typically right-handed.
Mm-hmm.
As you're writing, especially with ink back in the day, you don't want to smudge what you've already written, so you kind of write away from it.
So they switched it.
Exactly, they switched it. So that is why there are right to left and left to right languages.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
Dude, I think Alex is gonna take our jobs.
No, no. You're now a part of the podcast. Don't take our jobs. All right, I'm going to attempt to read this. All right,
Are you reading the Hebrew or the thing?
I'm reading Genesis 1:1.
Okay, Genesis 1:1.
I figure I'll do
So,
one that a
It
lot
is
of
funny
people
how
know.
we both struggle reading just the regular Bible. I want to see how this goes.
Okay. The earth and the heavens. Am I reading that right?
Well, so
Like it's-
every word is right to left. So the words
You said that 5 times, and I still started.
So the words
my fault.
underneath it. So you don't start from the right of the column, I believe. You start from the right of the. Wait, let me see real quick.
no, it's so like
Okay,
you're
yeah,
reading
yeah.
it like
exactly,
in the beginning.
exactly, just like that. So in the beginning,
created God.
created God.
God created
Mm-hmm.
the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without form and empty, and darkness on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moving gently on the face of the waters. Then said God, "Let be light," and was light. And saw God the light, that good was it, in parentheses.
So that's
It's-
like implied.
Yeah. And separated God
The light from the dark.
the tween. It says tween. Oh, between. Sorry.
That's why I have the
It's-
glasses, guys. So
And
I don't mess up
separated
like-
God between the
Special,
light and the darkness.
It's the special glasses for reading Hebrew.
Yeah, they translate it. They're Orion glasses.
They're-
Shout out Facebook. Yo, they could they could develop that though. They could translate as you look. Anyway,
That'd be
continue
tough.
reading. This is
That'd
the
be
word
tough.
of the Lord.
This is.
Thanks be to God.
And God, and called God the light day, and the darkness he called night, and was evening, and was morning, day 1.
Amen. So
Amen.
so what they've done there is they've taken the original Hebrew and they've tried to represent with the best, most accurate definition what those words mean. So the Spirit of God of God moved gently over the waters.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, even after you buy something like that, it's a price tag, but it's not unaffordable. You know, save up one check, guys. You can afford it.
Mhm.
Amazon ships in a day or two with Prime. But I also encourage you to look up in Greek and Koine Greek specifically and ancient Hebrew. There are dictionaries. There's paper dictionaries you can buy.
Mhm.
Amazon as well, any bookstore, not any, maybe, but also online. There's a lot of good resources. I actually brought another. This is for Greek. It's actually a biblical Greek. It's just kind of like a cheat sheet, I guess, in a sense. Now this is a little bit more advanced. So this is if you're trying to learn the language. And guys, I would say if you are trying to learn a language to read the Bible, and go with Greek, because one, the New Testament is I think much more relevant to our lives today. The Old Testament has a lot of history, has a lot of significance, and it leads up to obviously the New Testament. But the New Testament kind of it's the new covenant that we're in. It's the Testament actually. It can be translated covenant, so it's a new covenant that we're in. So just 1 second. So when sorry for you audio listeners, Michael just tried to grab the thing I have and I didn't give it to him. So if you're trying to learn Greek, this is something super helpful. It shows you noun declensions, verb endings.
What's a noun declension, bro?
Anyway, adjectives. A noun declension is it's kind of like conjugating a noun the same way you would conjugate a verb, but instead of for the person that used it, it's for the purpose that the noun or for.
Does Russian do that?
Yeah, they do.
Okay,
they do.
I know
I
what
think
you're
they
talking
have
about then.
6
Yeah.
declensions.
Yeah.
So anyway, it has to do with how the noun functions in the sentence.
Oh,
so is
okay,
it
I
the
see.
subject? Is the indirect object?
Does Spanish do that?
Spanish does not do that.
Okay, I
So
was like,
no, but
sounds-
Latin does actually. It's
sounds
interesting.
different.
Latin does, but Spanish has lost it. But a language like Romanian has preserved noun declensions in their language. So there's 5 in Romanian. There's 0 obviously in Portuguese, in French,
Italian.
Italian, and Spanish. And
I hope
then-
you guys are taking notes because
and there's six. I think six. I believe you can fact check me. In Russian.
Daniel,
anyway.
let us know.
Anyway, so this is it has a lot of information. This is something cool you can just like have around. If you are choosing to study, you can hold that if you want. Or
Do you know what this reminds me of?
What is
Have you
that?
seen the test where like the first and the last letter of a word are on the same are on the correct spot, but all the other words are on the wrong spot,
yeah,
But
yeah.
you're
it's
still
like the
a-
reading test.
but you're still able to read it? That kind of reminds me of this, like reading backwards, because you're
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
your brain doesn't comprehend that well. Like it's hard to comprehend that the word is from left to right, but the sentence is from right to left.
Yeah, yeah. Reading backwards is definitely something interesting. And also there's another kind of concept of backwards in Hebrew where so there's this it's like sentence structure. In English we have a subject, verb, object or complement order. So we do our subject, verb, and then our object or our complement. So I
Yeah.
saw the dog.
Mm-hmm.
But in Hebrew, it's I believe a verb subject object order. So they would say saw I the dog. So that's why I say called God good,
Ah,
called God it good, or something
Mhm.
like
but they don't have it like that.
that. They have something similar, but it is very. I mean, it's not specific to English, but it's very. I think it comes from German.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it doesn't exist really. They kind of use a gendered third person pronoun. So so they would say he.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they don't really mean he. It's kind of like in Spanish, you would say, like él, but él is not he. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about it. But we
Mhm.
just assign the masculine third person
Gotcha.
singular
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
subject pronoun. But yeah,
There,
so
give that Danny. That's pretty cool.
you can check that out. Not to delay you guys anything, but while you're looking at that,
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to give a couple of the reasons that I have that I think that it's super important to read this as a Christian. If you think about it, I don't know if any of you guys speak any other languages. If you don't, you should learn one. And if you do, learn another one. But
How many do you know?
I can speak 2 languages, English and Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
But I've dabbled in several others, and I just have an interest in learning languages. But I would feel comfortable having a conversation in English and in Spanish. But so one of my reasons here. So in English, in the English translations of the Bible, some of the Greek words can be translated into several English words.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I don't, or Greek or Hebrew or Aramaic, but this happens in all kinds of languages where one language has several words for something and another language has one word. So, for example, the word behold can also be rendered see or even pay attention or look at this. And I don't know the original Greek or Hebrew word for that. But yeah, so that's something where like if you have a NRSV translation, you'll see a lot of see, this,
Mhm.
whatever. But I think the ESV, something like that, or the KJV even, where they render it behold, as your dad has like mentioned several times, it's like a beacon. Like, what am I beholding? What am I looking
Mhm.
at? What there's something important here. Whereas see kind of just slips us by because it's such a common word. Like, I see.
It removes
Yeah.
the emphasis.
Yeah, it
that it
kind of
has.
exactly. So
And the importance of it as well.
yeah. So there's a lot you can get a lot more important. I mean, a lot more it's more beneficial if you can understand that this word can be translated any other like a bunch of other ways, but when you read it in the original language, you're like, wait, this meant behold and see, and I see it again. It means this. My translation might have rendered it different in both spots,
Mm-hmm.
but when I read it, I know it's the same word.
Gotcha.
I know it. I know what they're trying to convey, and so I think that there's a lot of like things that you can kind of glance over if you aren't noticing things like that. And on the contrary, there's words in other. I mean, it's the exact opposite where there's words, for example, in Greek that have one meaning in English or one translation in English.
Mm-hmm.
For example, love.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's the most. I feel like everybody has heard of this. But if not, so love in Greek, I think it has. Let me check my notes.
At least 6.
6 different translations or 6 different words that all mean love.
Mm-hmm.
And I I think that's so interesting because we miss out a lot on what is love. You know, I love you, but I also love, to watch the podcast in my free time.
Yeah.
You know, but what does that mean? I love to have guests over,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not the same way that I love my girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So
Do you want to
it's-
go over real quick?
yeah, actually, I have them here. So there's agape, eros,
Mm-hmm.
philia, philautia, storge, and xenia. Okay, so agape, that is unconditional love.
Yeah.
It's love without conditions. It's love without boundaries. It's what God has for us.
Mm-hmm.
We can't really express that, but it's what God has for us. It's it's unconditional love. There's eros, which is love, but mostly it's a romantic type of love.
It's
a
like a
sexual,
passionate love, yeah.
It's what you see between in couples, between lovers, and it's entirely different than unconditional, than agape love.
Yeah.
They're rooted in the same thing, but they're expressed in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And when you read love, you don't really get the same value as having the words agape and eros. Philia is what we have here. It's friendship. It's an
Yeah.
affectionate regard for others.
Mhm. That's what the city of Philadelphia was named after. Isn't that funny?
Get this guy a podcast. I actually did not know
Are you
that.
serious?
No, I didn't know that.
Philadelphia, brother. Love.
Philadelphia. I did. Okay.
Are you
yeah.
serious?
I
You
did
didn't
not
know
know that.
I didn't know
I-
that either.
I have ascended. I'm now one of the greats.
Dude,
No,
I didn't
that's
know that
amazing.
either, and I ran there. Like, dude.
Guys, if you want to talk about cities, well, this is just a little excerpt. But burg, anything that ends with a burg was it was a fortress. It was something with walls around it. So if something is named burg,
Oh.
especially like over in Europe,
Mhm.
it's something. It was a city with walls around it. So like we live. Well, I'm not gonna say where we live, but there's like Fredericksburg,
There's
okay,
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
There's
So those,
Gettysburg.
Well, actually, Pittsburgh is spelled different. It has an H, but it's irrelevant. They just
Gettysburg?
don't know how to spell up in PA.
Gettysburg. Yeah.
Gettysburg. So those are places. Now I don't know if those places actually had walls, but the idea of naming something Berg, Bebenberg, shout out Last Kingdom or whatever it's called. But yeah, it was a place with walls. It was a fortress.
Dude, I'm gonna name my kid Berg.
Oh my.
Middle name
Yeah, so that's something interesting. And then another quick fact: herb. Okay, so back in the day,
Burger.
when they would build castles, the smartest place to build a castle, guys, is on a hill or a mountain. It's somewhere that people have to climb up. They get tired when they're trying to
Yeah,
attack you.
you get the high ground.
Exactly.
Oh,
So
Anakin, I have the high ground.
Aye. Well,
Sorry,
we'll
alright,
talk.
like,
We'll
okay,
talk.
so
Sorry.
an herb, those mounds or hills, sometimes man-made, were called herbs. Okay, so the castle was built on an herb,
Ah.
and that's the center of life in that area. The castle, the courtyards, and everything. So there were villages that were built around the herb that were below it because it was on a hill, and those were called suburbs. Sub means below.
Below.
It means lower, right? So like subterranean is like
Well, yeah.
underground.
Yeah.
So suburb is something that was below the herb. So it was, yeah. So that's why when something's outside of a city, it's not necessarily geographically lower,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a suburb because it would have
Because
been
it's
considered that. Back in the
Wow.
old day when they were building castles, they would have built the herb, the center, urban communities, like urban development.
Yeah.
Herb is it's the city. That's where it comes from.
Whoa.
Wow.
This is crazy.
All right. Anyway, so
We're still on point one. This is amazing.
we're
Yeah.
still on point one.
Tune in, y'all. Clock in. This is
Exactly.
crazy.
So let me continue with definitely we were talking about Philadelphia for philia,
Oh, yeah,
which
yeah,
is
yeah.
Greek for friendship.
Mhm.
You know.
Mhm.
So then there's storge, which is love, especially between parents and children.
Mhm.
So the way that I love you as a brother, as a friend, is not the same way that I love my parents or
Mhm.
even my siblings. I feel like this applies. It's parents and children, but I feel like it applies to siblings as well. It's kind of like a blood love. Like
Sure.
Yeah.
you know. what
It's
are
just
they-
a
what's that?
different
The
kind of
blood is
love.
thicker than water or something like that. I
Yeah.
don't know how whatever. But anyway, philautia is self-love. I think it's something that we all need.
Mm-hmm.
You know, self-love, and just it the fact that there's a word just to describe that, I think, conveys its importance.
Mm-hmm.
And then xenia is best describe as hospitality. It's like this
Mm.
guest friendship where I don't really know you, but I'm still gonna be kind to you. I'm still gonna be nice to you. I'm still going to offer you, you know, if you back in the you know the old times, I'll offer you to stay at my house, or I'll offer you some food, or you know, that's not very common in American culture, but yeah, that those 6 words all are translated love, but they're entirely different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the love I have for a stranger that's staying the night in my house is not the same love that I have for my children.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have children, or for my or even the kind of love that God has for me.
Mm-hmm.
So when you read in English, you miss that. You miss the the richness,
Mm-hmm.
the literary richness
Mhm.
that is available in
And
the original
sometimes the
language.
intended meaning
Yeah.
lost in even
Yeah.
like lost in culture and stuff like that.
That's the
Yeah.
same like how sometimes when we watch a movie in is not its original language, like it's a translation,
Mm-hmm.
like the jokes or like
Dubbed.
the
Oh,
or like
yeah.
the sentence don't really line
make
up.
sense.
This man
Yeah.
read my notes, because my next point is that you aren't able to recognize the same kind of linguistic features that
Yeah.
are in your mother tongue. So um yeah, like you were saying, like you if you're watching a show in another language, you kind of, they say a joke but it translates poorly.
Mhm.
And when you take it to the Bible, you read a psalm and it doesn't rhyme.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, but they were songs. And now I'm not saying that all of them rhymed. I've never checked that, but they were poems. They were
They
rock.
had
They were, yeah, they
flow.
had flow,
Yeah.
and they were meant to be presented and sung, and so they were supposed to sound beautiful. And I believe they do sound beautiful in the original Hebrew. And so I think, like, yeah, rhyme schemes, or even like what's it called, meter in poetry, like like the amount of syllables in a different,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
so that gets removed when you read it in an English translation. And so there's so much beauty just in the original translation.